iPhone and other smartphones came into existence. And that was a very conscious attempt to move books into a much more electronically flexible format. Then within a year of that, iPads and Android tablets came into existence, and you started to have a range of things that were sort of book-sized screens that you could read on, that you could carry around. Now, that meant that books suddenly became something where you could carry hundreds of the things around with you at once if you wanted to in your one device, and you could pull it up, read some any place, any time, a couple of minutes at a time if you wanted to, on something that was a lot smaller to pull out of your bag than the average paper book. You can read that book on any device anywhere using Kindle Reader software, and Amazon even keeps track of which page you're up to regardless of which device you're using. So people started to read differently in that, whereas before they might not choose to carry the physical book with them, or they'd be like, oh, I left the book at home, what am I going to do? It would be, I'll just pull it out on the bus, I've got 5 minutes, I'll read another chapter. And of course, no one can see what you're reading. If you carry a physical book around, there is this habit people have of going, oh, what are you reading? Picking it up and reading the cover. Well, sometimes you don't want people to know what you're reading. Whereas on an electronic device, you can close your piece of Kindle application usually with a one-button click, and nobody needs to know, regardless of what you're reading. They don't need to know what your embarrassing hobby is, or whether you're reading erotica, or whether you're reading something they think is incredibly boring. It's completely irrelevant. So people started reading differently. At the same time, Amazon were working on changing the way that people buy things. They started as an online bookstore, and they rapidly realized that the more things they could sell, whatever kind of product, that they could get delivered to people at a reasonable rate, the more money they made. Now, you're probably not aware that every Kindle reader they sell at a loss. And at first, that sounds completely crazy in a business sense. But why do they do that? Because every person who buys a Kindle needs to then buy something to read on it forever. New stuff all the time, because people don't, well, some people do reread things. They usually want some new stuff at regular intervals. So Amazon now have over 400 million credit cards on file. That is a lot of people to keep satisfied and to make profit out of. And it's a lot of people in all sorts of areas of the world who are going to be interested in many different things. So no matter what your topic area that you might think about, there'll be someone who's interested. If you use the online tools that Google and others provide so that you can have a look at what people are searching for, and you pick a topic that is, by most people's definition, pretty uninspiring, such as file management. Now, if any of you are obsessive file managers, I apologize, but most people think file management is pretty boring. But there's something like 6,000 monthly Google searches for that term. So there are people who are interested in anything. On top of that, one of the things that Amazon did was to make digital books easy to sell in bulk quantity, and to encourage authors to set those low prices that they wanted. They've offered a much higher royalty percentage for a Kindle book that sells between $3 and $10. They're working on the principle that most people will go, oh yeah, it's only $10 or it's only $3. Oh, if I don't like it, so what? It's not a big risk. And they will buy something, so there's less sales resistance. If you're talking a physical book, whether that's in the bookshop and you're picking up something that says $35, you go, do I really want this? Am I going to actually get something out of it? And if you're buying it from Amazon, the book price might be $20, but then if you're in Australia particularly, it's $12 shipping, although that may change, because as of 2 weeks ago, there is now amazon.com.au. So digital books also change the way that people interact with authors, because digital books are live on the internet when you're reading them. assuming your device is connected at the time. So they can have video embedded. They can have live links in them online to things like bonus content that the author provides that the reader has to actually go to another website to get and put in their email address and the code that was in the book. Buyers love it because you're giving them a present. You're giving them bonus content. You as the author get something out of it because you're collecting their email address, and if they're interested enough to come to your site and get the bonus content, they may be interested enough to interact with your business or your other books or whatever else you do on an ongoing basis. You can have live links in the book to other books you might have written on Amazon or on another site. You can have live links to your business website, so you can talk in your book about a type of activity, a type of product, a type of consultancy service, and you can say, when we provide this sort of service to our clients, we do this. See more at website link. Click. People can go straight to it while they're reading and thinking about it. You can link to reviews of your book or your products on other sites, to your blog, to other online writing, to anything that interests you and may interest your reader. The fact that digital books are live on the internet has also changed who a book can reach. So for someone to find a traditional book, they had to go into a bookstore and look for it. That meant a publisher had to take the expensive risk of publishing it, convincing bookstores to carry it, and promoting it all before they sold any. So if a publisher didn't think that the book would sell enough, they wouldn't do all of that because they had money on the line. So any book that had a relatively small likely readership was never going to be published. Digital books have changed all of that because digital books have very little upfront cost to publish and they have a low cost to deliver. So what is enough of a readership that might buy it is a very different number now. On top of that, enough is not about how many people can walk into a bookshop to find it. Enough is now about how many people in those 400 million people with a credit card on file with Amazon might search for that type of thing and be interested, no matter where in the world they are. So amongst that population, regardless of what your topic is about, there'll be somebody who wants your book. Most things, with the tiniest amount of promotion to get them visible to begin with, will trickle along at least a few copies a month of sales regardless. The other thing that allows to happen is to use books for charity fundraising in a very different way. So historically you've always had cases where people did a book about, say, the works of a particular charity or a topic dear to the heart of it, or a completely other topic, but they said all of the profits from this particular book will go to this charity. But you still had to get the thing published. Somebody had to fund the paper. Now, the cost of getting something to that stage up front is quite minimal. So it's possible for somebody, and from the sound of what you were all talking about earlier with your projects and things going on, there's a lot of charities that you like to help and you like to work with. And everybody has a range of stories around it. Usually those charities you get involved with because somebody in the group knows someone, has had an experience, has a family situation that has brought them into contact with it. So now people have the opportunity to put together their stories around that and to publish a book and to say, big letters on Amazon with it, this book, all of the profits from this book go to this charity, and to promote it that way. And to promote it that way so that a little local charity here can get support from all over the world as people buy books. It also changes the way that people use books. So whilst traditionally books have always created an aura of authority for the author, that's been a kind of fairly distant thing to the average person, and the digital publishing situation makes it much easier to leverage. So having a book can allow someone or a business to distinguish themselves from their business competition. Because if there are 10 people in your area who do a similar type of service, then how do you distinguish yourself? What's your unique selling proposition? And the fact that you wrote the book on it is a fairly convincing thing to most potential clients. You can use the book directly to get leads for your business, club or association by linking people directly out of the book onto your website. You can use that to increase your membership list or your marketing list of emails that you talk to, whether that's by the bonus content, sign up here to get it, or just the, if you're interested in what's in here, see more by coming to our website, sign up for our newsletter. You can create a buying following without needing to do much marketing yourself at all. Because when you go onto Amazon and you go to look at a product, you get the thing that there's the product picture at the top and the price and a bit of information, and there's that ribbon that's at the bottom of the screen, not far under the book description, that says people who bought this also bought or also like. If you have more than one book, then Amazon will put your other books in that ribbon. You don't have to do anything about it. They send out emails to people on their list, and they will put your book in those emails with other things around that topic. So again, if you do a little bit of marketing up front, and every so often you remind people you know that it exists, it will start to market itself. You can present your ideas to a far wider audience than ever before, because those people who go to Amazon sites are all over the world. You can present those ideas in multiple languages if you want to. Amazon now have something like 10 sites. So they have US, UK, France, Germany, Spain, Italy, Brazil, Mexico, Japan, and now Australia and India. So if you want to market in other languages, one translation and away you go. You can create passive cash flow from areas of knowledge that were previously seen as being way too niche to generate money through traditional books. Because digital books can reach a wider audience and the royalties paid on them are significantly larger per sale than those on traditional books as a percentage. You can also cross-promote any other venture or book you may have through the direct live links from within the book. So rather than the book just being, look, I'm an author, I wrote a book, it suddenly becomes a tool to drive your business in multiple other ways. So then we come down to, so what actually is a book now? Because it's no longer just a physical printed object. It's as often a digital object with text and video and links and clickable pictures as it is just a text physical object. In many senses, a book is the ultimate business card. It is more convincing than a shiny little piece of paper that you know something about your topic area to be able to say, and here's my book. So digital or otherwise, so long as your material has been formatted and presented to a professional standard so that it looks not just like a Word document, then people are impressed by a book and see someone who's written one as knowing more about the subject than someone who hasn't. Which of course may not be at all true. It just means that you got it down into a file that someone else can read. So why write a book? People do this for many reasons. I mean, maybe you've just always wanted to. There are people who have got a book written, they've got multiple books written, their bottom drawer is full of them, they've been writing since they were 8 years old, but it's never been published, either because they've never chased publishing it or because it was niche topic areas not really publishable in the traditional publishing world. Maybe you've just got lots of knowledge, or someone you know just has lots of knowledge in a particular field and would like to share it and hasn't had a path to do that before. You might have a business and would like more leads for your business, like your business to grow. Maybe you want to be acknowledged as an authority in your field. You might have that recognition locally, but you'd like to spread that potentially even globally. Maybe you'd like to be a paid speaker at events. Having a published book on a topic is a good way to impress your potential clients. Maybe you want to create income in an ongoing form for a charity. Or maybe you just like some passive income for yourself. So how do you easily turn your knowledge into a book? About now, people are usually thinking, well, that's all good, sounds like a great idea, but I can't write, or I don't like writing, or I don't have time to write. But there are ways around those issues. So many people, particularly in business, when we look into it, actually have a lot of material that's already just written. They just don't realize it. They might have a blog themselves or for their business. They might have a diary they've been handwriting in for years. They might have a business website with a whole number of articles that are relevant to their business, FAQ pages. If it's a business that delivers a service or makes a physical product, they may have detailed business procedures that are actually how-to guides. How to make a dog kennel. If you sell dog kennels, you've probably got manufacturing guides that you can turn into a book really fast. If you hate typing, if it's all in your head but you hate getting it out there, you can always do a voice recording of your material or a video, and these days you can do that with your phone, and this can be transcribed into text and edited and formatted for you. If you want to, you can use software that will let you do that straight to your computer. Yes, you'll have to go through the frustrating bit while it learns your voice at the beginning, but they're getting it better and better, and you can just sit there, shut your door so you don't drive everyone in the house crazy, and talk at your computer and end up with a Word document that you then need to do minimal editing on to make it comprehensible, and someone else can do the final editing and formatting for you. You no longer have to beg a publisher to take your book on. Businesses that specialise in digital publishing, like mine, will, for a relatively small fee, work with you and get your material published regardless of what it is. They'll help you edit for quality, but make no judgment of the should or should not be published kind. That's your call. If you want to publish it, fine, publish it. The traditional publishing thing about, oh, this book isn't good enough, is irrelevant now. So, resources. What sort of things can you do to find out more about this and explore it? Some of the simplest things to get an idea of what's out there and how people think is to go to Amazon and just in the search bar at the top type in your topic area. Preferably select the Kindle store rather than all categories so you get a clearer picture around books, and just type in your topic, and as you do you'll get a drop down appear with a number of things related to what you've typed in. Those things they put in the drop down as suggestions are things that the most other people have been searching for lately. So that instantly tells you if the sort of thing that you could create a book on, there's people looking for. You can do the same in Google. It will do the same thing. It will suggest in the drop down as you go different things related to what you're typing in, and that's what other people are searching for now. For audio recording, you can walk into the average JB Hi-Fi or that kind of store and buy little handheld voice recorders. Most smartphones have a voice recorder application in them, or if you want to talk directly into your computer, Dragon Naturally Speaking software, somewhere between $80 and $200 depending on which version you get, and away you go. Or if you're really stuck on doing that type of thing, if you've got Skype on your computer, talk to someone you know, work out a set of questions, do a Skype call, get the other person to interview you on your topic and record the call, and that can then be transcribed. If you go to my business website, which is dreamstone.com.au, and I'd recommend using the Google Chrome browser because for some reason the things that they keep doing to IE10 are causing a few things to present strangely, then there's a spot on the front page where you can put in your email address and download a free 20-page or so report on the things I've been talking about. And on the Get Published Now page, there's information on the sort of packages and things that we do. Now, all of that's customizable, particularly if what you're looking at is doing a charity project. because that's the kind of thing where normally what we do, and particularly in your case, what I would expect to do is to work through a situation where we did a package where our costs of marketing and managing the publication and things were covered, and then the profit after that was split such that the club kept a percentage and your nominated charity got a percentage, and we worked out how to do it. Whilst you can publish direct to Amazon yourself, it's usually easier to use someone like me or somebody else doing this for others for a number of reasons. Okay? You might be a subject matter expert in your topic. You really don't need to be a subject matter expert in Kindle formatting, because formatting it so it looks good is a bit of a fine art. To get, because Amazon sells in the US and they're headquartered in the US, any sales through them incur 30% American tax. Unless you get an American employer identification number and fill in a bunch of strange forms because of the Australian Free Trade Agreement with the US, at which point it becomes 5% tax. So I've got that and I've done that. So basically the amount I save you in tax covers most of what I actually keep to cover my costs, and you don't have to do the paperwork. So, any questions, anyone?
Kim, I've got a question, and it's about e-books.
Mm-hmm.
I have read a number of e-books on my iPad.
Yep.
The thing that I find very frustrating with an e-book is that you're talking to friends about this really good book that you're reading at the moment, but you can't share it with them.
It is a challenge. There have been a few court cases recently, and there is a site that's come up into existence in the last year, and they're still actually negotiating with Amazon, with iBooks, and working with the US law to come up with a way for people to actually resell or effectively sell second-hand ebooks. It's not very clear yet, but the other thing that people are not aware of is that if you have a Kindle and you join Amazon's Prime program, one of the things that allows you to do is to join their Kindle lending library, which allows you to borrow any Kindle book for free for a limited number of days. And every time, if you're an author, a publisher, every time somebody borrows your book, you actually get paid. Amazon put aside an amount of money each month, which varies each month by some strange formula all their own. And at the end of each month, they total up the number of books of all kinds that were borrowed under the Kindle Lending Library program, and they divide that number into the pool of money for the lending library that month, and that gives you a per borrow number. And as a publisher and an author, you get paid that per borrow amount. And there have been times when people's per borrow amount for their book was larger than their per sale amount in some months. So if you, it depends how fast your friends can read, but the two things that happen is that if you have a book you really like and you talk to people about it and they say, oh, that's great, A, it's likely to be somewhere between $3 and $10 to buy. So lots of them will just go, sure, okay, sounds good, I'll have a go, I'll buy a copy. Or if they really can't afford to do that, if they get signed up to the Prime program, they can borrow it. Now, they might have to borrow it a couple of times over a period of time if it's a really long book and they're a slow reader. But there are options. There are ways to do it. It's just a bit clunkier.
Okay, thank you. Yep. Any other questions of Kim?
I have.
So Beth, okay.
David Fox, Beth, if I send you my email address, can you send me a photograph and a CV, and this presentation or any presentation you wish, and I'll put it up on the front page of our website for you.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll encourage some of the other clubs to grab you along as well. Kim, I was just thinking, this weekend we actually have a group of Rotary Exchange students in town, and I was thinking that your comment about the book can be as big as little as you like, and what we maybe should be doing is getting the kids to put together a summary of their year with half a dozen key photos, and even if they're only 5 pages each, with 20 kids you end up with a 100-page book.
Absolutely.
Put a bit about Rotary in the front and then drop it up on the website suitably.
That would work really well, because what happens is that because people are only paying $3 to $10 for things, they don't mind if the book, some books out there are literally 20 to 40 pages long. Because what happens is that if you're buying a paper book, and say you're buying a DIY book, you want to do some handyman things, and what you want to know about is how to do bathroom floor tiles under particular conditions. So you go into the bookshop and there's a big handyman book and it's 400 pages long and there's 3 pages on doing tiles. You don't really want to pay the $50 for the book for your 3 pages. But if you can pay $4 for a book that is 20 pages long on nothing but how to do tiles with some nice pictures and diagrams, you'll probably go, cool, I don't have to wade through all that other stuff. There's the answer I want. So small books have become more and more significant. And in addition to that, what happens now is that, and this is, apologies to anyone who is offended by the concept or has children like this and agrees with it, it's a Gen Y thing, right? We have all these people now whose attention span is short. So if you give them a series of 5 40-page books instead of one 200-page book, they'll probably buy them all, but they'll buy them one at a time because they're small enough to consume and complete enough in themselves that they can just do it one at a time. But if you put up a 200-page book, you can only really sell it for about $10. But if you put up 5 40-page books at $5 each, you just made 2.5 times as much money. Amazon are very happy, you're very happy, and your reader gets it in the format that makes sense to them.
Kim, it's Bruce Harvey here. That concept is certainly by no means new. I mean, Charles Dickens used to bring out virtually a chapter of every one of his books in the newspaper.
Yes, absolutely. We're actually shifting back to that sort of thing because of the delivery mechanism.
Yeah.
It's the same thing they did with the movies in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, where you get people who went to the movies each week because they wanted to see the next instalment of the cartoon that came before the film.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So guys, you just might be interested. I jumped onto Kindle store and did a search. At the moment there are 8 books on Rotary in the whole of the Kindle store, which says that that means that there's 30,000 other clubs that have never put anything up there. There's one on Paul Harrison, the birth of Rotary, but how much do we do that we could put up as a 10-page book on, but focus under service youth, whatever, and put it up there and promote Rotary?
The other sort of thing that immediately came to me listening to you before was, why not work with the lady working with the Aboriginal peoples on the traditional medicine-based products to do a book that is the story of that project?
Yep, absolutely.
Yep, they're the type of things I was thinking of, Dream Cricket, it's great, write up what we're doing, and then you can put out an annual update and people can jump on and download it. And pay more for it each time.
And that's another thing with the way Amazon do it too. You can update your book at any time. So if, for example, we publish it and you get an email from someone or you look at it 3 weeks later and you go, oh, there's typos in there, or I missed it, or I misspelled that, or oh my God, I misspelled that person's name, we can fix it. It takes about 4 to 12 hours for the new version to be live in the Kindle store, and Amazon tell people there's an update available. Depending on what settings people have in their Kindle account, Amazon will automatically push updates to people. So you don't, where it's a fix or a minor enhancement or an extension of things, you don't even have to tell them, it just happens. Where it might be the next one in the series, we can go back to the first book once you've published the second one and add an extra page in at the end that says, get the next book in this series, here's a link. So there's a lot of things like that that you can do because it's permanently interactive. Now on top of that, Amazon also have the ability to use what they call create space, where you take the book that you've done for Kindle or whatever, you create a, it does require a lot of formatting and some other activities and a second set of forms in their stupid system from my end. But you can then publish that through their Create Space arm, which is print on demand. So when you go to your book listing on the site, it says Kindle edition, paperback edition. People can choose. So if people just want paper, they can order your book in paper. Amazon only print it when they order it. No upfront costs, no extra costs for you, just more profit and more visibility.
Thanks, Kim.
And you can do things with that, by the way, and this is kind of really relevant given what Ross has said. I would assume that the annual diary for most Rotary clubs will have some similarities. So everybody's going to have a regular meeting, everybody's going to have some annual events, and a number of sorts of things you might do or want to record or capture for a person in that club for the year. So one of the things you can do with Create Space is create a customised blank diary or any other kind of blank book, like a garden planner or a birthday book or a kid's drawing book or whatever. But you could publish, and I'm sure we'd come up with a way to customise it, you could be the first Rotary club in the world to publish a customised annual Rotary diary people could buy from Amazon.
It's basically the annual report, but tarted up.
All sorts of things like that.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Kim. Margaret, you might like to take on board the idea of the youth exchange people. Perhaps we could encourage them to start this weekend.
I'll talk to them on the weekend.
Okay. Kim, thank you very much for your presentation, and I do apologise. Ross didn't tell me that I had someone